Well, hello there. Punisher has always been one of my more favorite characters in Marvel. He's an underdog with no special powers, relies primarily on his mind, and has a tragic backstory that everyone can feel bad about. Well, and lots of guns.
No, 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 no! Wait! Wait!
He's a badass, but has a sensitive side to him. However, what differentiates him from the likes of Batman or, say, Spider-Man is that the man simply gives zero fucks, and is ready to achieve his goals no matter how hard it is. He is not set out to save a particular city, a particular person, or even himself. No, his entire goal is to kill as much scum as possible in the most effective way possible. And that brutal simplicity attracts people. The guy nuked an entire country once after he hijacked an Iron Man armor, and then fought the Avengers because they kind of lost their shit and decided that was a little too far. Yet he survived all of that and somehow came out on top. Regardless, my point is that Frank Castle, judge, jury, and executioner, can sometimes be seen by many as somewhat of a villain, and that's exactly the opposite of how he was seen by General Ross, aka Red Hulk. You see, Red Hulk, being somewhat of an anti-hero himself, once decided to follow Amanda Waller's roots and assemble a secret Black Ops team on a leash who will be doing some necessary evil for their country, the all-new Thunderbolts. These would be the most fearless combatants who will go after the purest of evil, someone the Avengers don't want to touch or don't even know about, and they will do so using any measures necessary, absolutely any. Hence, Punisher was one of the people Ross ended up hiring. And all was going well, but Ross made a miscalculation. He simply underestimated Frank's devotion, and what the Punisher actually stands for, as you'll see soon. The story starts quite simple. Outside of Punisher, Ross also recruits Agent Venom, Mercy, Deadpool, and Electra, and they are all notorious for their bloody travels throughout the world. Now, most people are familiar with them, so I won't go over these characters too much, except for Mercy. She might just be the strongest and the scariest person on the team, but you'll see that later. Like all teams, this team has their very own first mission that sets up pretty much everything that you'll need to know, and the downfall will start from here. And that's exactly where we'll start as well. The idea looks simple at first. Red Hulk wants to take down a dictatorship in a local nation of Kataya, I think? But that's how you pronounce it. He does that with two steps. He supports local rebellion, giving them both weapons and training by the Punisher himself, and assaults their local outposts, killing everyone in sight. The plan works fairly well until the first hiccup. Deadpool gets shot on the head and Electra is captured during the first mission. And right around here we're starting to see the first cracks in Ross's plan already. First and foremost, he expects full compliance. It goes as far as he nearly kills Agent Venom after Venom kept on calling him sir non-stop. Punisher managed to calm down the situation. And of course, next problem is that Red Hulk doesn't share all the details with the team. I mean, most of them. It goes much further than overthrowing a dictatorship. And the first one to notice this is surprisingly Deadpool. He sees a strange looking red container that Ross constantly looks at. And after Deadpool confronts him, Ross reveals that he has the leader cooped up in there, who is one of the biggest Hulk villains. He has knowledge of nearly everything in the world, and at this stage, he is nearly powerless. Getting juiced up just enough so Ross can control him and use his brain for his own. And this is a pattern you'll see throughout the whole run. Basically, Red Hulk is sort of like Cecil from the Invincible, I guess you can say. He takes down villains, yes, but then he makes them work for him, so that they can actually do some good for the world instead of bad. While the conversation is happening, the war progresses. The team is not stopping. They're slowly dismantling the dictatorship and continuing training on the rebels. And after a few days, Leader has enough power, so Ross decides to bring him in. And at this stage, Leader is still pretty weak. He can barely think straight. Naturally, Punisher does not care, and immediately shoots Leader in the head. Which, funny enough, everyone expected except for Red Hulk. Ross immediately pushes Frank and tries to run off with Leader to try and revive him. Flash is starting to feel a little unnerved by the situation, seeing as both Punisher and Ross are somewhat unpredictable and are both making the situation more chaotic. Well, Frank does not care. He stands up and continues on with the mission. They need to save Electra and destroy the dictator. That's all there is to it. You're starting to see small differences between Punisher and the rest of the team already. As the rest are starting to argue, Frank kinda just goes for the job. The team reaches the main palace, where they're greeted by the palace guard Madman, who is Leader's brother by the way, that'll play a role later. Punisher manages to take him down with a landmine straight to his chest, depowering him but not killing him. Meanwhile, Agent Venom sneaks into the palace from the back, leading rear assault. And Electra is inside already, still captured and getting questioned by the man himself, Supreme Dictator of Kataya, and here's where we get the reveal. why the team is really here in the first place and what Red Hulk hid. You see, Supreme General Yalak, was backed by the US government, and Ross himself specifically from the very beginning. Back in the early days, the government was looking for a way to deal with Hulk. Ross himself specifically had an absolute disdain for him and was willing to do anything to kill Hulk. So the deal was simple. US recruited Yalak to place him at the top of the government, and in turn, once he got full power, he would let them use his land for experimental gamma weapons testing, including gamma nuclear reactors. As you can guess, shit hit the fan very quick, and at some point the government realized they made a mistake. So they sent in the madman to take down the dictator and erase all of their mistakes. But Yakal was no simple man. He managed to talk down the madman, recruiting him as his own. At this point, US government completely denied all of their involvement and just forgot about this nation, and the fact that another superpower is being born with a bunch of gamma nuclear weapons. And that's how we got to current day, where Red Hulk is trying to erase his own mistakes, basically, not being involved with the government anymore. Venom manages to reach Electra, and she already murdered Yalak. Well, another one bites the dust. Red Hulk manages to get Leader up, and here's where we get a funny little Deadpool subplot that I really enjoyed. Basically, Deadpool realizes he has the hots for Electra, and desperately wants to get in with her. He decides now, of all the time, is the most perfect moment to ask her out, and just as he goes in, he sees that Punisher and Electra are already in the middle of the act. After killing close to 100 men, that turned them both on? Well, feels bad for Deadpool, man. With the victory seemingly coming to pass, the rebels arrive to take over the government. They take the powered madman as prisoner and plan to execute him right away. Flash, aka Agent Venom, asks them not to do that yet, as they want to question him first. Rebels refuse, saying he slaughtered dozens of their family members, and they are willing to die before they let him live any longer. And then Mercy arrives. Yeah, she's been just chilling the entire time. The final mysterious member of the new Thunderbolts team. She comes in and simply fires all the rebels, within 1 second. Literally, on fire. All of them dead immediately. We're yet to get into how twisted she is, but we'll find out soon enough. Now the rest of the team goes into the underground facility of the palace, and here they find dozens of people, all hooked up to multiple screens, which looks horrifying. All of that was done by Madman, Leader's brother. He was making his own little scheme behind Dictator's back. You see, Leader's dumbed down, and knows nothing. But before he was taken by Ross, he managed to upload his brain onto some secret server online. And all of that is encrypted behind a code only Leader knew. So all of this weird brain rot experiment was for Madman to somehow uncover it from the internet. After seeing it, something wakes up in Leader and he starts remembering his old self. And then Madman, after being saved by Mercy, hulks out on his own in a more ugly way, and starts bashing shit in that place to erase all trace of his experiments. He absolutely despises his brother, because Sam, Leader's real name, would never share all of his infinite knowledge with him. So Leader decided to rectify that, and tells him a secret, after which Madman's head freaking explodes completely, which as we see also makes Mercy very happy. She has a plan for Leader, which we will see later. Leader also remembers that whatever gamma weapons were stored in here have already shipped out, and the team has to track the weapons to stop mass gamma nuclear war. And with that, the first mission is officially over, and the team gets some well-deserved rest back at their submarine. And this is where we get to see one of the most interesting things about this team in my opinion, their dynamic. Punisher and Electra continue doing their daily training, if you know what I mean, and Deadpool tries to flirt with Electra, but she completely ignores him. So he goes to battle training room and simulates killing Punisher 1000 times, eagerly awaiting for the right moment to actually kill him. Red Hulk constantly presses poor Leader, making sure he knows he does not have a free will anymore. And then Deadpool comes in, dreaming of killing Punisher, and actually makes it worse, legit bullying the Leader. Which is actually funny, but it kinda makes you feel bad for the Leader. The guy is literally a slave right now. But the guy is slowly getting smarter, so we'll see how that goes later. Mercy is somewhere at the back of the ship meditating, no one wants to come close to her, and only one person is already planning a mutiny. Agent Venom. He saw what Mercy did to the rebellion, and believes Ross hides a lot more than everyone knows. He suggests mutiny to the entire crew, to take control and find out what Ross knows. Electra rightfully asks how he plans to take down the Hulk, which Deadpool mentions that Ross will have to be careful. One wrong move and they will end up at the bottom of the ocean forever, which adds to their advantage. Of course it does not work and Red Hulk disposes of the whole team within 5 seconds. letting them know that if this happens again, he's actually gonna kill them. Finally, after a couple more days, the team is relaxed, everyone cooled off, and Leader makes the breakthrough. The gamma bombs they're chasing turn out to be nuclear suits of death that are already going out to market. And the team goes out. They travel throughout the world, including Middle East, Europe, US, and slowly take down all possible sellers of this weapon. They pretty much take down anyone in the vicinity, swift and without mercy, as you'd expect from a team like that. Lastly, they come across the final location where the main perpetrator is. Everything is going according to plan right up until Deadpool decides he wants to try and kill Punisher today. It's very Deadpool of him, isn't it? First he talks to Red Hulk, lying to him that Frank seems to be unhinged today, and Deadpool is worried Frank might just ruin the plan. That does not work, so he decides to come to Punisher himself and simply shoot him, which backfires at him literally, as Electra was anticipating that and shot Deadpool through the head. The shot spooks the villains though, so the team goes in to murder everyone as fast as possible. The main baddie is already gone though, and his gun weapons are flying in, which the team starts taking care of. And once down, the main baddie seems to be gone. But Leader was able to track his identity, and it turns out to be Electra's brother, Orestes, who basically wants to start another world war, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure why. Something about evil rule of the West, some shit like that. Anyways, they find him and assault him. Evil robots fly in, and Electra is the only one on his tail. And I know I'm speedrunning this arc a little bit, but you see where I'm going with this. Later, Electra gets back to the team and reveals that it's done. Her brother is dead and will no longer be a threat to anyone. Basically, main villain is down. Everyone believes her except one person, Punisher. After another training night together, he asks her what she did with the body, to which Electra hesitates just for a second, saying she buried him with a small delay. But that brief hesitation gives Punisher everything he needs. He knows Electra lied. She betrayed the team, she betrayed him, and let the killer go free. Punisher leaves, and for the next few weeks he works to track Orestes down, and every time he finds him, Orestes manages to escape. But as Frank says, you can try to run as many times as you want. I only need to kill you once. And after about 3 weeks, he manages to corner him. Orestes locks himself in a panic room and tells Frank that he will never come out. And here is where we see true nature of Punisher and why he is the best at what he does. Punisher knows what buttons to press. He needs Orestes out of that room now, so he vows he will kill his entire family. He will also track down Electra and kill her too, especially for betraying him. And one day, no matter what, he will still find Orestes and still kill him. Frank will never stop, and nothing will stop him. And yeah, that works. He gets Orestes to come out of the panic room. And right after, Punisher murders Electra's brother with his bare hands. A little while later back at the HQ, Punisher looks in Electra's eyes, knowing she lied, and the worst thing, knowing she let him live. She let him escape, and this exact moment he realizes his days in the team might be numbered. He will not kill her yet, it's not the right time, but he knows they're done. He lets her know and walks back to his room. While all of that is happening, Flash finds Mercy's room to confront her about all the rebels she killed back on Kataya. Immediately she removes symbiote off of him with no effort, which puts Flash to shock immediately, and says that she's not interested in him. She was interested when Flash lost both his legs, but now he's nothing to her. So she gives symbiote back and Flash has nothing left to do but leave. He's kind of scared at this point. Flash goes to Ross immediately, asking who or what they have on the ship and how powerful she is exactly. Ross decides the time has come and reveals what exactly is Mercy. In short, he doesn't know, and she's basically in control. She once fought Hulk, the green one, and stood toe to toe with him. After Hulk finally got her down, Ross found her in an old abandoned military prison. Her whole spiel is feeding off people's misery. If a person is depressed and is thinking about dying, she literally consumes them and gets stronger, killing them. Which is why when the rebels said they're willing to die for their country, she immediately granted them that wish and became more powerful. Now she's only with Ross because he simply promised her more people to unalive, and he really does not want her out loose in the world. We can see how strong she is specifically during the Thanos invasion, when one of Thanos' agents from the Black Order, Supergiant, was taken care of in one punch man-style by her. And let me remind you, Thanos' Black Order members are insanely broken, to the point where one of them, Corvus Glaive I believe, took all of the X-Men on alone and defeated them, and the other one beat the entire nation of Wakanda solo. Anyways, with such power at their disposal, Thunderbolts come up with a genius plan. They really need to get rid of her, but they cannot kill her. So they decide to send her straight to hell, without actually killing her. Genius. To execute that, they recruit Ghost Rider, who becomes a permanent member of the team. He gets them to hell, and in there they make a deal with Mephisto, specifically Leader and Deadpool do. And if you think it will not work, think again. Mephisto has recently been outed from his throne, so he needed that deal badly, as Thunderbolts would defeat the new King of Hell, who turned out to be a strong man from X-Men. And they give Mephisto his throne back. Leader, who has been growing smarter by the day, made the contract in such a way that literally does not let Mephisto break it, in any way. Man, I wish he helped Spider-Man build a better contract as well. Beyond all that, Leader is also planning to slowly kill the entire team, but we'll get to that later. And once Contract is in power, Mercy gets to Hell, where she immediately starts wrecking shit and sucking in all the poor Hell souls into herself. Poor Mephisto legit says that's too much, please take her back, deal is off, but Leader managed to foresee that too and they just bail. Contract is already on. And that's the end of Mercy on the team. Not gonna lie, that was a little interesting, but you gotta give it to Thunderbolts, they're quite pragmatic. They had no way to deal with the enemy, so they just made a deal with the devil. And the man who made the deal was the smartest man on the planet at the time, so yeah, I guess that works. Now let's get back to Earth. After a couple more adventures that might have not happened and all were a part of Frost's imagination, Agent Venom decides that all of this is a bit too much and he decides to bail. He doesn't want to be on the team anymore. He also kind of hates Punisher because of how much Frank doesn't give a fuck. So Agent Venom leaves, and Ghost Rider stays. And here is where we come to the main fight of the entire series. Punisher versus Red Hulk and Thunderbolts. It all starts with yet another insane mission. Avengers are fighting some villain of the week in the middle of New York again, but what they don't see is that all of this is a hoax for the actual supervillains to wipe them all down in a single shot. Thunderbolts see it though, and attack right on time. Turns out this new group of mercenaries has tech that was specifically designed to kill Avengers. There's an anti-Hulk gun, an anti-Banner gun, anti-Captain America gun, and so forth. And on top of that, Dr. Faustus, a hypnotic brain controlling fat guy, leader of the whole gang, was ready to assault them mentally. He wiped an entire school to trap the team and mind control them, which was a bit wild and shocking to me at first. Thunderbolts got there in time, and even though it was very difficult, they managed to subdue him. And here's where Ross and Punisher cross swords, and the ultimate difference between Frank and Ross is revealed. Ross wants to control Faustus. He will recruit him, just like he did everyone else, and make use of his powers. Ross wants to make sure Faustus will save more people than he harmed, and until then, he will forever be a prisoner like the leader. On the other hand, we have Punisher, who just wants Faustus dead. He is sick of this. First time he saw Leader being on the team, he shot him. Yeah, Ross has a way of feeding him gamma energy to keep him alive, so Punisher cannot technically completely finish him off, but he really wants to. Now Ross wants to bring in another villain on the team. Frank just can't stand this no more, so he quits the team, forever. Both characters have the same ideology when you look at it from afar, which is why they became a team in the first place. They want to get rid of scum on Earth, by any means necessary. But in the end, those means turned out very different. Punisher will never let a villain breathe. Even if that villain can someday change, end up saving thousands of lives, become a good guy and everything, no. Punisher will still shoot them in the head the first chance he gets. That's his way. He will never trust anyone, especially a villain. Ross sees it from a different perspective though, and in his opinion any tools are good as long as the best result possible is achieved. Now who's right in this? Who has the correct position? The comic book tries to give us an answer, sort of, but it doesn't really. I guess anyone can decide for themselves. For now, Punisher quit, and is spending his days as he usually does. Until he opens up his fridge and sees a note, "You don't quit, you're fired." And the entire building explodes. Meanwhile, Avengers realize that there was more to this recent fight, as someone left a message on top of the building, "Punisher sucks." It's Deadpool, of course. And Iron Man assigns Hawkeye to investigate what the hell is happening. Electra sees Frank's building on fire and immediately goes after Ross, blaming him for what he did, after which he immediately pushes her back and tells her that she can quit too if she wants. She goes for the anti-Hulk gun immediately that they confiscated from Faustus and his gang, and suddenly the team hears a shot. Leader is dead on the ground. Punisher is after them. All of them. Turns out Punisher is of course alive. His fridge was bomb resistant, which I highly doubt, but fuck it, I believe it because the story is starting to ramp up. Punisher was expecting his team to become his enemy one day, so he made preparations accordingly, similar to Batman's plan to dispose of Justice League if needed. And the next person on the list after Leader is Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider arrives first at the scene and immediately goes after Frank. But Punisher legit has a full arsenal ready for that. He has a demon sword, which was made specifically to kill Ghost Rider, recommended by Doctor Strange, Elsa Bloodstone's Uru shifts, and Cutter Slade's spirit guns. Unfortunately, almost nothing works. The Rider gets Punisher down almost immediately and takes swords from him, after which he gives him his famous penance stare. But, to Rider's surprise, it does nothing. After looking into penance stare, Frank says outright he regrets nothing. He takes Rider's chains and fucking chokes him with his own chains, and manages to do it. Ghost Rider is dead. Only Johnny Blaze is left. But despite all of that, Blaze is happy. The curse is lifted, and he immediately thanks Frank, a bit too close even, and goes away to live his life. Next up is Electra, who does not even want to fight Frank because she understands him, but there is a catch. He wants to fight her. She let her brother live all those issues ago, and that cannot happen. And even though they fight for a little, in the end they simply decide to just never cross paths again. Because despite everything, they admire each other. Punisher simply tells her for the last time that they are done, and to never stand it from him again. And if she ever does, he will kill her. Oh yeah, and Deadpool just left. Despite wanting to kill Punisher for a very long time, he decided to back off this comic book issue entirely because he got a new girlfriend. Yep, that's Deadpool. Not to worry, there's a whole run dedicated to them trying to kill each other, but that will be for another time. Punisher then calls Ross and lets him know that he is next. Meanwhile, Hawkeye lets Iron Man know he managed to track them down and now knows everything they've been up to. Time for the final battle. Punisher tracks Ross down first in their old hideout and strikes. And even though he attacked first, wearing a giant Punisher-themed Hulkbuster armor, Ross digs into it right away like it's a can, opening it up piece by piece, not letting Frank move at all, as he knows there's an anti-Hulk gun in there somewhere. But this whole time it was hidden behind them, and it shoots Ross in the back. This immediately makes Red Hulk weaker as he's slowly getting back to his human form, and it's the exact advantage Frank was looking for. He starts landing strike after strike, seemingly winning, but it's not enough. Hulk gets to him in the end, and he destroys the armor completely, getting stabbed by the vibranium knife in the process. And just as he's about to kill Frank, the gun finally works its charm and Ross returns to his human form. They begin battling it out on even grounds, and Ross even nearly manages to get an upper hand, but is once again hit in the head last second. With that, Punisher wins. Ross immediately tries to stall and talk about how he'd want a son like Frank, blah blah blah, but Castle doesn't listen. He knows he won, and when he's nearly pulled the trigger, freaking Avengers arrive, and Hawkeye shoots Punisher in the arm. Great work, Hawkeye, amazing. That gives Ross enough time to regain strength and Hulk out again, and this now becomes Avengers and Punisher versus Red Hulk. The fight goes on for a couple minutes until finally Electra arrives. She stops everything and lets them know that everyone's been played. Leader is not dead. His body is a shield decoy. All of this was his doing. He was the one who tried to kill Punisher. He was the one who made them fight. He was the one who mixed in the Avengers. He started the production on the gun weapons that they were trying to find. All of that was him. All of the steps the team was taking were all a part of his final plan. In the end, he just wanted the team to kill each other, which they nearly did. And when Red Hulk was asked why he never told them that he never tried to kill Punisher, he just said he doesn't have to explain himself to anyone. And if someone doesn't listen to him, they're going down, which is what he tried to do. Anyways, with that we go to where it all began. Kataya, the palace of the dictator where it all began, and now with Leader on the throne, surrounded by his security in face of the gamma-powered soldiers the team tried to stop in earlier issues, with a team of servants and an orchestra. But as you may understand, this does not last long. If it wasn't for Electra, his plan would have probably succeeded, but now both Thunderbolts and Avengers are after him. Leader throws everything he has at the team, including anti-Hulk gas he created, aliens from other planets, his gamma robots, his gamma weapons, everything, and in the end, nothing gets done. Everything is dismantled. All of his forces are defeated and Leader goes to prison. But not a normal one, a very special one. It has a Ghost Rider skull attached to it that will torture Leader for an eternity. The same skull Punisher took down. But wait, there's more. He is later taken by Mephisto straight to hell because he shouldn't have made a deal with the devil, dumbass. Mephisto plans to torture him for even longer. And even though I'm sure Leader comes back at some point in comics, that's a very tough place to come back from, let me tell you. As for Thunderbolts, the team has their final moment, and the final speech is given by none other than Deadpool. As he lets Ross know straight up, "You assembled a team of murderous loners. What did you expect would happen?" Deadpool also points out a thing that most people probably realized already. It's that Punisher was right. He tried to put a bullet in Leader's skull from the very first second he saw him, and if not for Red Hulk, Leader would have been dead already. So all of these plans, deaths, enemies, these arcs, all of this was Red Hulk's fault really. Punisher would have solved all of this with one bullet many issues ago. And with this, everyone goes their own separate way again. No longer a team, no longer trusting Ross, and no longer trusting each other. The Thunderbolts are done, just for now.